We are doing a deep dive into federal politics now. Mark Carney is riding high in the polls, but how long will his honeymoon last? Joining me now is Amanda Galbraith and Marion Nader. I sense that voters like Carney because he seems to be the right man to deal with Donald Trump in this moment in time. Polls reflect that he's doing very well. How long will his honeymoon last? Because as you both know, the honeymoons for politicians do not last forever. What does he need to do while he's riding high?
I think it will last, longer than we expect, probably through to the summer would be my guess. The real risk to me with Prime Minister Carney is he continues to set expectation very high for himself and his team. He's approaching and operating, Marion and I were talking about this, like as if he's a CEO running a company. That's not how government functions.
It's very different, isn't it?
He cannot control his ministers. So yes, he's had a very good week this week with the King coming to town, the statements that were made. But at the end of the day, he is subject to factors well beyond his control as much as he's the most powerful politician in the country. And I think those chickens are going to come home to roost in the fall.
Yeah, I see that as well. I think people are going to give him some extra bandwidth. But I think when he delves into issues like Trump and housing and cost of living that all need to be addressed, people are going to want to see some sort of movement on those files.
Tangible results.
And they want to see tangible results, or else, there are going to be some people who have buyer's remorse.
And a backlash. And, that feels inevitable for any politician, but I think the bar is particularly high for him right now with voters because the expectation is so high.
Well, he's raising the bar himself, as we were saying, is that normally you come in, you want to lower expectations and then exceed it. But he just keeps raising it and realizing, even though he's been in government, campaigning is very different from governing. Mm-hmm. So I think he's going to have a very rude awakening about he's not going to be able to get everything done. It's great that he's being so ambitious, and God bless. I hope, he is able to get the stuff done that he needs because we do need those results. But at what cost are those going to come at?
It was interesting watching Pierre Poilievres yesterday in the first day in Parliament, and he wasn't there for the first time in, some 20 years because he lost his seat. He felt humbled, and he said it was difficult to be a spectator, and he's going to work hard to win the trust in the next by-election. Is this a good thing for Pierre Poilievres to be humbled a little bit?
Absolutely. Hopefully there were some lessons learned, and I hope him and his team did learn them. But the problem is you can't tell, the expression is you can tell someone's future's actions by their past actions. Mm-hmm. So, by softening his image, hopefully it's not just, a facade that he's doing, because this is going to need everyone's cooperation. But I think when he talks about cooperating with the Liberals, it's not going to be at the expense of workers and families and hopefully they're not the ones who are going to be paying the price.
And Amanda, I was going to ask you about that. He is promising to cooperate with the Liberals when it comes to Donald Trump and the tariffs. Does that back him into a corner at all? And how long will that realistically last?
No, I think the Canadians elected the government they formed, right, which is a minority Liberal government. They're going to expect the Conservatives to collaborate. He's even said he'll collaborate. They'll vote for the tax cut. They're going to try and expand it, I think rightfully so. And on foreign affairs issues where it makes sense, they'll support that. I guess they're going to probably support additional defense spending. But I think the tone we saw from Pierre Poilievres yesterday is the right one, right? I think that's what people are expecting, some humility. They're expecting some sort of sense of, I know what has happened. I know the task before me to prove to you that I can govern this country. And I think the steps he's taken around indicating he'll work with the government is the appetite. People don't want another election, and I think that's exactly where he should be.
Let's talk. You mentioned military spending. Let's talk about military spending. Carney is pledging to spend 2% of GDP by 2030. That's roughly another $20 billion going forward. The military has been cut off and starved for many years. It's going to take a lot to rebuild it. Is this mission impossible, Amanda?
It's mission challenging. It's mission very challenging, I would say. It's a tough mission. I think all governments have tried in certain ways to address this matter. Either recruitment is down. I think, candidly, the previous Liberal government, their behavior and treatment towards the military, people didn't, flags at half-mast. People don't want to go and fight for their country around those sorts of things, right? So I think that's a big challenge. That being said, we've joined the EU Defence Purchasing Pact, so that will, I think, buttress that. We have this Golden Dome issue that's over top of us, which, would set us apart. And secondly, we've heard NATO is now moving not to 2%, and Canada's at 1.3 right now, but they're actually going to be moving to a 5% of GDP target.
Which is a staggering sum of money.
Indeed. And I think other European countries are going to pledge that. So if Canada wants to play ball, if Mark Carney wants to continue to build those EU alliances, which I think is smart for our country, we're going to have to figure out how to get there.
Right.
Which is
because,
crazy.
Marion, I mean, we can't rely on a Donald Trump America to just come to our rescue.
Right, and you also can't do the investments just to appease Donald Trump or even NATO for that matter. And if we talk about defense investment, we should also look about how do we support the people who serve. So looking at services for, mental health services, care for the veterans, and housing and pay. Yes, we need to be able to, defend, look at Arctic sovereignty, our humanitarian response or disaster. How do we approach those things? That's very important. Also look at, for example, investment as can we build some military equipment here, create good jobs, start to take away some of that dependence on the states. Obviously, we're going to still be, connected to the states and other aspects, but I think lessening it, but it also can't be at the cost of the social programs and healthcare.
One more thing, during the throne speech, interprovincial barriers came up. Once again, Carney is promising to eliminate them the first week of July. That's a month away. No government has been able to do this. Does he have extra powers or something up his sleeve that he can make this happen? It's comical because he's setting these expectations, and other Liberal and Conservative governments haven't been able. They wanted to do the same thing and have failed. Mm-hmm. So this shouldn't be a race to the bottom on deregulation. So yes, there should be cutting some red tape for sure, but also at what cost? If you want to make this arbitrary July 1st deadline, it shouldn't be at the cost of labor protections, environmental standards, or public safety, and provincial autonomy. So if you're going to do it right, do it properly, but don't do it because you're rushing just to prove a point. Amanda.
I think there's an appetite with the provinces to do this. I think a lot of this stuff is sensible. There will be some knock-on effects, for example, right? If there's less protections to do certain things in the province, you don't have that requirement, that means they may consolidate somewhere else. So there may be some shifting of jobs, some shifting of production. But I think it makes sense for our economy to do that. We can be smarter, faster, better. I also think, is this going to be accomplished by July 1st? Like, absolutely not. Like, Godspeed, sir, if you can achieve it, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I do think they'll probably have some measurable progress. The provincial premiers are going to say, oh, yeah, we've done it. And Canadians are probably going to nod their heads. It's folks like us that are going to look at the details of this and say, actually, no, sir, like this is not complete.
Let's come back July 1st and discuss and see if he's been able to do it. Thank you so very much for joining us and for this great conversation about federal politics.
Thank you.